Ah, February, the month of togetherness.
It's July, you failure.
Ah, February, the month of togetherness. Wouldn't you agree, Myth? Remember a long time ago when I had reviewed a non-game called Sakura Spirit? I commented on how many other games there were in the Sakura franchise, and I had projected that in a later project, maybe the developers, Winged Cloud, had learned to include some game in their video game. Well, 2 years on from Sakura Spirit came Sakura Dungeon in 2016, and I am thrilled to announce there's a game this time. The start didn't leave me especially hopeful. You find out that you've been locked away for decades in the bottom of a dungeon and you're a fox spirit? Wait, I'm not the random human girl? I'm extremely okay with this. You enslave the human warrior that tried to fight you and begin to take back your dungeon that you were tricked and locked inside. Up to this point, you've been moving around and watching. I was gonna call it a cutscene, but those tend to move. And then suddenly there's gameplay. Yeah, it turns out there's a really good RPG hidden under the ability to strip enemies as they take damage, massive boobies, and fox ears. I mean, I can spoil it now. This was better than it probably had any right to be. I went into this expecting no character growth, no actual real characters, basic back and forth combat, boring story, boring dungeons, all hoping to be given a free pass via the booby card. Instead, I found a well-created combat system that had so much depth I actually still don't fully understand it or think it was properly built. The characters all underwent growth and development, even if it wasn't anything spectacular. Oh yeah, and boobies. There's actually no male characters in this entire game. The lesbians. They're everywhere. Yes. The game is made up of two main mechanics. The one you'll spend the most time with is the dungeon crawl. In order to take back your dungeon, you must work your way through each level and its puzzles. I usually enjoy grid-based RPGs, and this stands up as a stellar example of the genre. The puzzles aren't too easy, but they also aren't too hard. Excluding one obnoxious mechanic, I only had to go look up one floor solution at the very end of the game. The other core gameplay mechanic is capturing monster girls to have them fight on your team. Each enemy you fight can be recruited to your side and fight alongside you, along with several secret allies you find in cutscenes or by completing side quests. I adore this mechanic. Any game with the ability to build your team out of the enemies that you also have to fight, that's part of why I loved Pokemon. It's a mechanic that if you have it in your game, you have my attention. The game is also attempting to grab my attention through one final unique selling point. If you crit enemies, their clothes fall off. That reminds me, this game's banned on Twitch, but this isn't really lewd, just ecchi. I should probably check if there's any nudity coming up later I need to be worried about editing out, but given how much of a tease Winged Cloud was last time, I doubt that's...
Hey Otter, I see you googled Sakura Dungeon and nude in the same sentence.
Yes? Who's talking?
Here, take this information packet.
Why?
You want it!
I do?
Put it in the game folder.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. It's a random file. I'm not putting it on my computer. It could have malware or viruses.
But it's the developer intended experience.
Oh, well, that's a horse of a different color. Hang on.
Do it.
So what'd that do? Yes. Yeah, nice. Okay. So, even when I deleted the file afterwards, the nudity stayed. On the bright side, I guess this means that Winged Cloud isn't being a tease anymore. On the downside, this is going to be a pain to edit. I guess I can say that another good sign is that even though you can't see them, every model seems to have something unique about it. It isn't just the same model slapped into another's skin, so that's a point in Winged Cloud's favor. As far as a game of culture goes, you could certainly do worse. On top of that, each girl has a unique personality that you get to experience throughout the game. Each member of your team that you might have brought into the dungeon has a unique dialogue to interact with each cutscene. That's dedication to helping you enjoy the team choices you've made. I actually kept some members on my team well after I'd found a better teammate simply because I wanted to keep seeing what they had to say. Where you could not do worse is in a few individual mechanics. The chances to hit and chances to dodge are absolutely awful. The game has a mechanic called flow, which leads to the statement, "Yes, my sword girl's finally in flow," and it sounds like I have a very creepy fetish. Each time you hit adds 1 to the counter, a crit adds 2, and being crit removes 2. If you ever fall below 0, you're stunned and everything hits you and you can't hit anymore. If you reach 10, you enter flow and supposedly you're more difficult to hit and your hit chance is really high. I think your chance to hit and crit is also determined by where your numbers are in comparison to your opponent, both your health and your flow, but it doesn't work. You go into flow, the enemy has 5 points out of the 10, and you can't hit them. You and the enemy are both in flow, and you still can't hit to save your life. Meanwhile, being in flow effectively means you might dodge 1 out of every 10 or 11 attacks. Meanwhile, the enemy being in flow means you'll miss 3 out of every 5 attacks. 9 out of 10 if you're using attacks that can actually do damage that won't just be automatically healed back. The idea was interesting, but it didn't really matter. If you explore all the map carefully, you'll get enough XP to easily defeat the enemies on the next floor without even giving them a chance to be a threat. The auto battle and quick battle buttons became my best friends towards the end of a game. This is fairly common for RPGs, but it's still dragged on. My biggest complaint is fake walls. Almost all the secret outfits, items, joy statue pieces, etc. are hidden behind a fake wall. There is no way to tell the difference between a trick wall and a real one other than to ram your face into the wall constantly. That is not sneaky, it is not fun, and you are not clever. It is just obnoxious and prioritizes wasting even more time. I ended up just giving up on trying to waste my time and looked up maps. The hidden items are really cool, and there's never something behind a fake wall that's required to progress, but that's not an excuse for this mechanic. I don't want to spoil what's waiting for you on each level because almost entirely there's something unique and interesting on every level of the dungeon, some new mechanic or some new interaction that everyone will react to and it'll be a joy to see. Well, that is until the end of the game. Earlier on, they'd started talking about knowledge from the beyond and contacting entities with knowledge so much greater than ours that it was dangerous, and it sounded like they were talking about eldritch horrors. Then I realized they meant aliens. Oh, well, that's still okay. What cool alien girl designs did Winged Cloud... Fox girls. The aliens are just more fox girls. Now, I don't want to sound ungrateful that you gave me sexy fox girls, but that's what you could come up with? You were given an almost literal blank canvas to come up with something so unique, so interesting, something I never even knew I wanted to see. Like the Ryokyo, or the chocolate mimic, and you dug into the depths of your dirty, perverted, ecchi, game-creating minds, and all you could come up with was more fox girls?
I expect nothing, and I'm still let down.
Well, with that cleared out of the way, the game just sort of ends. Sure, the relationship between our character and the sword girl is genuinely grown, as well as some of the other teammates. But when it was all over, I didn't really want it to be done, nor did I feel like there was truly closure on anything. Yes, we'd taken back our dungeon and defended the world from aliens, but it felt like the game was still building up to something that I would never get to see, and I'm not even sure I can identify what that was. On the other hand, I guess I can't hold that against the game because it exceeded my expectations in so many other places. I just wish I could get to see whatever it is. As it stands, I'm highly pleasantly surprised to recommend this game. It was fun, enjoyable, and actually a really great RPG, so if you want a new, interesting RPG, at least new to me, that you've probably not heard of overall except for like mutters on the sides of the internet with way more than the average amount of boobies in it, this is actually a really good game. Well done, Winged Cloud. I can't wait to see what game of yours I play next year. Sakura Dungeon, An RPG with character growth, collecting enemies for your team, decent puzzles, and some good graphics. All in all, probably far better than it has any right to be. 8 out of 10.